All right, today on the podcast, we are continuing our Conversations with Your Dog series. And in this episode, we are diving into something that I think once you see it, or in this case, hear it, you'll never be able to unsee it or unhear it. And that is the idea of agreement versus disagreement. Because if you're someone who finds yourself repeating commands or repeating the word no and it just doesn't land, like it doesn't mean anything to your dog, then this is the episode for you. Because what if it's not about saying it better or louder? What if it's about everything your dog experiences before you say it? That's right. Today on the episode, we're going to be talking about why your no might not be working, how your relationship can change that, and why, for me, disagreeing with my dogs is actually quite simple and quiet, if I'm being honest. So let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there. Overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Hey there, friend. If you're someone who is enjoying something like these Conversations with Your Dog series that we're talking about right now, then I know that you will enjoy hanging out with us more inside the Fearless Framework. Inside the Fearless Framework, our online 12-month program, you get to ask your questions, share your videos, get video feedback, video analysis, monthly Q&A, all of that happening inside our incredible community. You want to be there, my friend. Go to beyondobedience.ca/fearless to find out more, and I hope to see you there. Well, hello, my dog-loving friend. It is Tracy. Welcome to Beyond Obedience, the podcast. Super duper welcome. If you are brand new, if you're brand new, you came at a great time. You're in part 2 of a series here, so maybe not the greatest time, like you missed the first episode of this series, but you can always go back and listen to it. But you came at a great time. You came at a great time because, as I mentioned in our previous episode, I've been thinking a lot about the tacticals of what it is that I do. How is it that I live with large group of dogs with very little conflict, with a lot of joy? Does it mean it's perfect? No, of course not. Hey, listen, let's be real for a second. If you invite a toothy predator to live with you in your home, and then maybe invite more toothy predators to live with you in your home, expect a couple of things to maybe go sideways, right? Expect a couple of things to go sideways. Then on top of it, let's add all the complexities of our human brain, everything going on in the world today. Expect some things to go sideways. That's okay. And hey, if you know me, if you're a member of the free community or you're a student inside the student community, you know that I share it all. I share everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. Currently going through working with an adolescent German Shepherd. You want to see what that's like? Come join me over in the student framework. I'm telling you, I share it all. But I would say as a whole, life with dogs for me is very, very easy. And my family would agree with you. Like we don't have the issues that a lot of our clients and our friends will tell us about. We just don't have that. And in many ways, when people would say things like, well, how do you do it? It was really hard for me to put a finger on, like, what's the thing that I'm doing? What is it that I'm doing that makes the biggest difference? And as I mentioned in my previous episode, I was in the barn doing barn stuff, and all of a sudden I was really thinking about that because I'm like, if someone were to say to me, someone were to corner me in an elevator, well, if you're cornering me in an elevator, why are you doing that? That just freaks me out. But if someone were to like stop me on the street and be like, what is the one thing that you do that really improves your relationship with your dog? I think it boils down to this concept of communication, and more importantly, not just communication, but conversations. That throughout the day, I'm constantly having conversations with the dogs, and they're not commands. It's not me telling the dogs what to do. I mean, very rarely am I telling them what to do, other than get out of the kitchen. That's that's probably the biggest command that happens in my house right now. And admittingly, it's a mistake that I made. Raising Gunther, I probably should have set that boundary a little bit more succinctly when I first got him. But I think that's probably the biggest command you'll hear is in my house is get out of the kitchen. There's a little insight into my life. But the other conversations that happen throughout the day are these little tiny subtle conversations, these little tiny things that happen. And now, because of all of the work and all the study that I've done, they come naturally to me. It's like learning any kind of language, honestly. Like, it comes with practice. Once you start to see the language, once you start to see the communication, once your dogs realize that you're actually listening to them, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, they actually start feeling heard. They start giving you feedback. You start giving, it's literally communication, but it's subtle. It's not something that I can be like, you'll see it on this day where I was really talking to the dogs, right? It's the subtle little tiny things. So I wanted to talk about that. We started talking about that in the last episode and how this whole thing started, where the door opened wide up for me in this concept and this idea. And then once I started to see it, I couldn't unsee it, right? Once, and I'm hoping the same for you. Once you start to see it, you can't really unsee it. But let me ask you, why is it that when you tell your dog no, sometimes it doesn't seem to mean anything, right? You ever told a dog no and they're like, I don't think so. And you're like, how interesting. I think a lot of us have been taught that if our dog isn't listening, that we need to be louder. Sometimes we think we need to be clearer, and that involves follow through. How much have you heard about that? You need to be more firm, more consistent, all of those things. These are the things that we've learned about training a dog. But as I pointed out in the previous episode, we're not talking about commands here. We're talking about actual conversations, right? Because what if the problem isn't how you're saying no or the fact that you don't have follow through? What if it's how much you say yes instead? What if that is the actual thing? Because here's the thing, your dog's response to no actually depends on how much yes they experience from you, right? When you have a dog that's living in a world of no or stop it or don't or leave it or quit all day long, it all becomes just noise, just background noise, right? It's their everyday, it becomes their norm. And so it doesn't stand out to them as being anything different, which is why they end up ignoring you. And then you end up getting louder, and then you say it 3 times or 4 times, and your dog learns like, oh, I don't really have to actually stop what I'm doing until she gets to the 5th or the 6th no. And it's because this background noise of what their life is like is that way. Now listen, this is starting to sound judgy, like I'm like, your dog's living in a world of no. It's not really your fault if you've been told to, or you've been trying to, quote unquote, fix a behavior. And when we get into this fix it mode, we tend to point out all the things that the dog is doing wrong. We tend to see all the things that the dog is doing wrong. But what if we shifted that? What if your dog lived in a world where you laughed with them, you played with them, you see them, you enjoy them, you get curious about the same things they're curious with, you start using my key phrase, how interesting. being with you starts to feel really, really good. Because one of the things that I can say to you with all honesty in my heart is that I genuinely enjoy my dogs. Now, some will say, well, it's easy to enjoy dogs when they're good dogs, right? And then we're in a chicken and an egg thing, right? Like, well, I'll enjoy them more if they be good. I'll enjoy them more when they start doing this. I enjoy them more if he listened to me. I enjoy them more if. But let's flip that script for a little bit, right? Because as I mentioned, I genuinely enjoy my dogs. Like, I laugh at them all the time. I think Gunther is hilarious. He is in the most frustrating stage right now. He's in adolescent mode. He's literally figuring out who he is. And he's testing his boundaries. And this is what we would call like the pulling out your hair phase of owning a dog. But I laugh at him all the time. And I play with him. And I also think he's bloody brilliant. I mean, I look at him all the time and I go, gosh, you are so smart. Like, when he outsmarts me, I'm like, touche. Like, you did that. And I have an absolute joy for them. I absolutely have joy in my heart when I see my Australian Shepherd herding, not hurting, but herding, Herd, herding the Jack Russell. Like, because one, the Jack Russell kind of likes it. And two, I'm like, she's just in it. Like, I look at her and I watch her do that. I'm like, look at the skill set on that dog. Look at the intensity of that eye stalk. Look at all of the things that she is doing. Like, I get into it. I love it. I watch that Jack Russell. I literally, this is true story because it's spring right now. My daughter, I came back and my daughter was like, why is the dog, she's talking about Nike, she's like, why is the dog like a different shade of white? And I looked at her and I'm like, oh, because we found the best deer poop to roll in. And Paisley literally looked up from her tea and was like, ew. And I was like, well, I didn't roll it in. But I did go over and see what she was rolling in. And it was like a glorious thing of freshly thawed deer poop. And rather than be like, ooh, gross, or get out of that or get off of it, I was like, look at you. Like, I don't know. It's like she was like having the best time. We have to walk through the horse field to get to the trail that I'm currently walking on. So like all the horse poop is thawing. There's puddles. There's so much stuff. It's a dog's most glorious playground out there. And it can be disgusting, but I think it's brilliant. You know, because at the end of the day, I'm like, if it's really bad, I can throw her in a sink and wash her. But I actually didn't want to. I kind of brushed her. I'm like, you probably love the way you smell right now, so I'm going to let that lie. You know, like I love everything about them. I love the intensity of Irie as he like tracks a frisbee. And when he catches it midair, like I'm like, look at that. I am currently, I will say, see, now I'm talking about my dogs. I will say currently, I am in awe of the movement of Gunther. Like I've been like almost like obsessed with just watching him move when he's in a jog, when he's in kind of a trot, the way that he glides, his movement. I'm just like, I can watch him all day. And when he comes over to me, I'm like, you're just stunning. I mean, this is the chemical perfume that my dogs live in on a daily basis. It's not just like, I love you because you love me. It's, I think you are the most magnificent beast ever. And I pull out all of the everything from each of the breeds and each of my dogs. And I'm like, I'm just in awe. I'm literally just in awe. And they live in that. They live in me laughing at them. They live with me just like seeing every little thing that they do and thinking it's amazing. Like when I watch Nike, going like jumping on from rock to rock to rock to rock and then sticking her head in a hole. And then at the same time, I'll watch Gunther run by and like snag a twig, or not a twig, but like a branch or something off the ground and get a stick, and he runs with it, and I'll think he's going to hit a tree, and he does, and then that stick breaks, and they live in the chemical perfume of me being in awe of them every single day. And the reason why I say that to you is because in those moments when I do say, oh, I don't like that, it hits different for them. It hits different. I don't need to yell at them. I don't need to escalate. I don't need to make it a big deal. I literally can just I can squish my face in a disagreement face and go, oh gosh, don't do that. And my dogs will be like, oh, sorry. And it's that simple. When I walk, like I have, I've talked about Rue before, my Australian Shepherd. She's not great with people. She doesn't really like strangers. And she's an Aussie, so she will also eye stalk. And I think she eye stalks the dogs, not necessarily because of the dogs. She doesn't dislike dogs, but those dogs are attached to people. So she's like, don't you bring that person over here. Like, I think she'd be fine if an off-leash dog would come up to her, but if it's a person attached to that dog, she's like, don't bring that person over here. But I can catch her if we're walking along and I see her do an extended look or an eye stalk at another dog. I can literally just say to her, I'll just be like, Rue, and she'll look up at me and I'll be like, don't do that. And I say those words. I usually shake my head, but that change in tone, that contrast from the way I normally am with them, is what makes that no so much more powerful. It stands out in a crowd because they don't usually hear me saying no. I don't say no over the gross things that they do when they're being dogs. I don't know if you heard the podcast episode where I talked about that time where Gunther figured out that if he just goes up the hill, that's where the horse poop is. And he blew me off the one time. Like, he literally was like, he was about to go, and I was like, Gunther. And he like took off and he went up there. And I had to go get him. Like, I had to walk up the hill. And I wasn't happy about it. I'm not going to lie, because I'm like, oh, I got to go up this hill. And it was still like, ugh. And when I got up there, because this dog lives in a world of me being like, look at what you did, look what you got, look what he literally saw me up there, comes bounding over to me, joy in his heart, with a big old frozen horse poop in his mouth, just like, I'm so glad you're here. Look at all the stuff that I found. And I couldn't help but go, look at you, man. Like, I smiled again, and all of a sudden he was like, yeah, I found all this stuff. And I realized, I'm getting mad at him for being an adolescent dog that just figured out that there's horse poop in a field. Like, and I had to stop myself and be like, yeah, of course you would. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you run up the hill? Of course you would. And we went back to our same, and he came with me. It's not like he kept on defying me. When I came up there, I was like, okay, well, let's go now. He came with me. It was still a very, very quiet disagreement. But when my dogs grab something that they're not supposed to have, I can look at them and go, don't do that. Right? And I think this is also why my dogs do quite well with very little obedience commands, because I haven't really taught them any of the words in the same way that we normally teach obedience. But I have a very, very, very distinctive no that's very quiet, because they live in a world of yes, and they live in a world of we're doing all these really fun things. And don't get me wrong, I'm not haphazard about it. Like, I'm very smart and strategic about things, right? I know that in the springtime, I'm going to have to put dogs back on long lines. I can't let them go because they're not going to listen to me. I'm very strategic about things. So I set them up for success so that we can have all of these yeses in the day. But when I have to say no, like if my dog grabs something they're not supposed to have, I can be like, And they'll be like, whatever I'm doing right now, I need to stop it. Right? A lot of times they'll just drop what's in their mouth because I've asked them to not do what they're currently doing. And that's all it takes for me. Right? Because everything in this is still a conversation. It becomes very conversational. It's not a correction and it's not control. It's communication. So if your no isn't landing for your dog right now, don't ask, how can I say it better or louder, or how can I follow through? You'll get that. And that's your training mentality. That's what you've been taught to train, right? I asked you to do something. I need to follow through. Now, don't get me wrong. I want you to hear me when I say this. There is a portion of that has to do with leadership. And there are things that we do have to follow through. So I don't want you to confuse this. I just want you to sort of stay with me in this lane right now with this idea of, instead, if you're finding that you have to say no, you have to correct a lot, you're doing a lot of corrections, I want you to take the time today to find ways to build more yes into your day. Because it's not how you're saying no, it's the contrast that you build. It's the difference for them. It's when something is different for them, they will notice it. Dogs, like everything else, are about patterning and pattern-based things. So when we interrupt a pattern, if they're usually used to me laughing and playing and all of that stuff, and I all of a sudden go, uh-oh, come this way, because there's something there, they're going to be like, that's different. I should probably do that. Right? Rather than me constantly saying no to them and then saying yet another no. Okay? So that's what I want you to do. This is just a like, hey, this is an awareness episode, right? I want you to just sort of think about that. And then if you're like, maybe we're leaning more heavy on the no's than yeses, how can you find ways to put yes into that day? More importantly, how can you find ways to really find the brilliance of your dogs? You know, I think I mentioned all of my dogs. So the Noofs, my yes for them is just, I mean, gosh, the Noofs have the sweetest soul. They really have the sweetest soul. I was just out this morning with them before I hit record here because I wanted to tire out the younger dogs. And I was playing Frisbee with Irie, and Gunther was chasing Irie, and, Nike's just being a Jack Russell, doing Jack Russell things. She was under the deck. I don't know what she was doing. But, but my Eclipse literally was just sitting beside me. And so those moments I would stop and I would like take a breath and then just pet her, but like petting her face and sort of rubbing and massaging into her cheeks and looking into her eyes and seeing that sweetness. There is such a sweet, sweet, sweet soul inside both of my girls. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little hard for me right now because it does remind me of the loss of Nigel. And but I take those moments with them and just I look them in the eye, and that's what I mean to say about these conversations that I have with my dogs and seeing them all the time, these quiet little things that I do with them. These are all conversations, right? These are connection pieces and conversations. So go find that. Go find that. Find the things that make your dog amazing, and just sit in that and feel it, because that chemical, right? I've talked a lot about the chemical, the chemical perfume of our stress and our cortisol and all those things. And when our dogs sense it, they get stressed because they know it. They know what cortisol smells like. They have that same response. But the same thing is going to hold true for the love that you have and the admiration that you have and the joy that you have. They will smell that chemical perfume as well. And that's what makes for me, agreeing and disagreeing with my dog is very, very simple. Disagreeing with my dog quite often is just a, hey, don't do that. And they listen. And it's so simple. It's so simple. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but when I walk around and I see people with their dogs and they're like, you can tell that the dog is just kind of fighting and the people are struggling. And I'm just like, it's so loud. It doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't have to be that way. So I hope that helps. All right. We're going to continue. We're going to keep talking about conversations with your dog. Conversations with your dog. We're going to continue on. I think I've got maybe one or two more little tips, really focusing in and honing in on these conversations. I hope this helps. Listen, if you like this kind of thing, be sure to head on over to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star written review. If you're listening to me on Spotify, can you hit the follow button? Hit that follow button. Follow the show for me. Leave me a comment over there. Come hang out with me over in the free Facebook group, Living Beyond Obedience. All of these things to connect, stay connected. All of this helps. As always, my dog-loving friend, get out there today. Today, be the person that your dog thinks you are. Because your dog thinks that you are amazing. And so do I. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only. It's not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you are really struggling with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.